All right, today we are going through how to underwrite faster and specifically using Finmo. So even if you don't use Finmo, I believe all of you here use Finmo. If not, put your hand up and let me know. But yeah, all of these tricks are still going to be applicable to whatever submission platform you use. I'm just going to use Finmo as reference. So we're going to go through each point here. And Brandon, anything that you've added here, just jump in and go through your notes here. So we actually, Brandon, you're going to start this one because I think you changed the title of that number one.
Yeah, I did. So, number one, before you do any sort of underwriting, you want to get docs. I like to have a no docs, no talk policy because it's just a waste of time if a client's not committed to sending you those documents. But that being said, you should get better documents up front. So, when a client completes an application on Finmo, they will receive an automated email on submission asking for any documents. Okay. This is going to be coded to any settings you've had. Several of them we've already built into Finmo for you. So, for example, if they note as being divorced, there's going to be a request for a separation agreement. Canada Child Benefit, there'll be a request for birth certificates. This initial document list is super overwhelming for people. So, what I like to do is still have the automation go out, but then I send a follow-up email and be like, "Hey Tom, this list is a lot. I know." It's what we're going to need when we get to the finish line. But today, here's what I need right away and break it down for them into bite-sized pieces that are more manageable. So this takes an overwhelming task and gives them something that they feel they can actually complete in like a 10 to 15 minute window. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say that that's a good point. I do something very similar. I just don't do the follow-up email. I'll go through it on the discovery call and say, hey, these are the docs I will be needing. You might see that there's a couple extra documents that pop up when you submit your application, but that's automated. Just focus on these ones here. But I like the idea of that follow-up email, so that way they have that itemized list.
Yeah, and another piece to add to this is just review the documents as quickly as you can after you have them, and then flag anything that you need follow-up detail on and let the client know as well. So one thing I used to get all the time from realtors is a note saying, "Hey, my client said they put everything in. Like, why haven't you reviewed it? They said you're asking for more details, but they gave like the CRA version of T4s with no name on it, or they gave like half a pay stub that's like blurred out." And the client feels like they've done it, but they've done a half-assed version of it. So I always follow up with them. I say, "Hey, here's what you gave me. Here's why it's wrong. Here's what I need and why I need it." So they understand why. And then I let the realtor know as well that, hey, we're in the document phase, but some stuff needs improvement. And I've told the client what they need to work on.
That scenario is probably one of the biggest reasons why brokers will go on that roller coaster of production, because once they start getting busy, they come into that where they know they need to get those updates back to clients, but then it takes them away from prospecting. So it is one of the hardest things to juggle as a mortgage broker if you don't have an underwriter, because you're playing multiple roles. So creating systems around that is definitely recommended. So that way you're not taking yourself out of the lead generation and prospecting, which is why you guys are here. So you guys are showing up every day, and as long as you continue to do that, you'll be fine. Notes section. So I'll go into Finmo here, and I'll go through my test one here. It's funny story. Side note: I duplicated a client. He just started filling out his app like maybe about a week and a half ago, and then went silent. So I was like, all right, I'll just duplicate this one and make sure there's no personal info on there. And I didn't know this. This is a heads up for you guys. When you duplicate an application, but then you change out the email in the borrower's email here, it sends a notification to them, even if it's a duplicated app. So the
Mm.
funny thing is, he sent me an email saying, "Hey, I didn't authorize this. Like, what's going on?" And I thought he was pissed. I was like, "Oh, sorry, man. Like, I was actually just organizing files on the back end here." But the funny thing is, like, "Oh yeah, sorry. By the way, I've been really busy. I'm gonna get the app into you today." So it was actually like kind of like a nice little reminder for him to get going. So it worked out. But anyways, that's just for you to know in case you do that in the future. So note section here, add a note. So again, whatever platform you're using, there should be a note section here. I specifically use this for pretty much like talking to myself. So anything that I need to know that is like a red flag or something I need to review in the future, I'll put that in here. And when I'm underwriting, another example is when I'm underwriting income, what I'll do is if it's a 2 year average, I'll write out the 2 years of income and I'll put the 2 year average in here and I'll write it out like properly. So that way, when I go to submit the file when it's live, I'll just copy and paste the note that I already put in here for the client's income. So that way I'm not doing it twice. And it's super, super easy doing that. And the only other thing with notes is communicating with your team. So if you do have an underwriter or someone that works on the file with you, then having the notes section here is really handy as well. And I haven't tried this, but maybe you could even plop in it probably wouldn't work actually. I was thinking maybe put in like a Loom video here. So that way they can reference it and click it, but I don't know if it would show the hyperlink there. It's something to try.
Yeah, on that team piece, even if you don't have a team yet, get in the habit of doing this. A good example of this was last year. I went on vacation and Tom went on vacation. We tested running each other's files, and it was so much cleaner to have things in the notes and be able to just be like, okay, this was Brandon's thinking here, or this was Tom's thinking here, versus like trying to figure it out from just the application itself or even the discovery call notes. It's very beneficial even for you if you pick up a client. Like I picked up clients from 2022, 2023. I'm looking at their files and looking, okay, what was my red flags back then that were the reasons the deal didn't get done, and looking at today, how have these been addressed? It's a lot cleaner than having to search for a document in a drive folder or on your computer.
Yeah, I used to do that. Like I was kind of trying to prevent myself from putting notes in here because I wanted to keep it all in one Google Doc. But I found myself wasting time going back into the Google Drive, searching for, opening it up. So what I do is I have the discovery call notes on the Google Drive in a Google Sheet and or Google Doc. And if I ever need to reference it, I'll just pull it up while I'm submitting the file, which I don't really often need to do that. But anything in here is, it's notes for yourself or your team while you're working on the file itself. So on the notes topic, submission notes, these are super, super important when it comes to getting your deal approved and getting it approved faster. More so for the deals that have a bit of hair on it or need a bit more explanation. A lot of like the AAA cookie cutter deals, like you should still have good submission notes, but they're not as important in my opinion than something that needs like further clarification on. So having a good rule of thumb is just make sure you tweak your submission notes when you're filling it out in here. And Finmo is really, really cool. If you aren't using it, for the submission notes, the auto-generated ones, highly recommend trying it out. It might not even show anything here because I don't have anything filled out in the app. Yeah. But when you click this, it's going to fill out the submission notes in here. And I recommend never just submitting or clicking this and submitting the deal. Go through it, tweak it, clean everything up. Finmo likes to keep everything in sentence forms. I personally like to have it in like short form notes. So that way it's easier and cleaner for the underwriter to review. And what else? Yeah, just make sure you add anything that is specific to the product as well. And I'll give you an example. Maybe while you're talking, Brandon, maybe I'll stop my screen. I'll just pop into a file just so I don't have personal information on here. And I'll pull up an example of the submission notes.
Sure. Yeah. So on the submission note piece, a few things you can do. You can use AI to make your notes more succinct. So hop over to ChatGPT, say, can you make this bullet form or pull out the key details in here. Also explain to the lenders how you reach decision. So if you're using a salaried income, make sure you put a note because Finmo will just show Candace earns $75,000 per year. On that sentence, put salaried income of 75,000 per year. If you've used a 2 year average, show the math of how you did that 2 year average. Basically, look through the lens of an underwriter getting this list of notes in the application and say, what would my questions be? And try to address those through your notes. And you're going to get approvals back way faster. Your underwriter will be grateful for this and put your files first in line because they know that they can get through it quickly. It's just like if you get a full doc package and complete thing from a client, you're more likely to work on it. Another piece here is a lot of the lenders now are using AI on their side to do initial reviews. So if you have a complete application, all details in there and good notes, you can sometimes get an auto approval within minutes to hours versus sitting and waiting for a human to look at it.
Yeah, good point. So this is I just copied and pasted the top section of my notes. So if you compare what Finmo auto generates at the top versus like putting it in nice, clear dot jot form, this is much cleaner for the underwriter to review. And if you look at the product, I'll use Scotia as an example. There's a couple things you're going to want to make sure you put in there. And not a lot of brokers know this, but whenever you're submitting for a Scotia step product, 100% you need to have automatic limit increase requested. And this will ensure that as they pay down the principal on the mortgage, the line of credit portion will increase. The limit on the line of credit will increase automatically. If you don't have that in there, it's not going to increase. And I don't know what the charge is for the client to have that done at the branch, but I think there is a cost associated with doing it. And you may not even be able to do it that way. I think you might have to refi, but don't quote me on that, but yeah, it just saves a lot of hassle for everyone in the future. And this one too. Not a lot of people know that you can increase the prepayment privilege to 20%. So no extra cost to the client. It's super easy for the underwriter to do on the back end. And I know our Scotia BRM, he's like, nobody else does this. I don't even know why you asked for this. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you? It's there for the client if they ever need it. They likely won't use 20%, but at least it's there in the background if they need to.
Yeah, and specifically for Scotia, requesting those things allows you to do advanced strategies, like using the line of credit to pay down the mortgage and then re-advancing it, which if you don't put these tools in place, you can't tap into that down the road.
Yeah. Two screens goes without saying. If you guys don't have two screens yet, you need to. It's a good investment in your business. Like it's going to cut down a lot of time spent when underwriting because you can do things like I have two Finmo browsers open. I'll put one on one screen, one on the other, and the main screen on like my main monitor is going through the application itself, cleaning it up, adding in the MLS details when it's live, and then on the left screen that I have on the side is the document section, the document portal for Finmo with any docs that I need to open up, whether it's income or the property documents. It's easier to go through them on a separate screen instead of like going in and out of the application. And I've seen some brokers do this when it comes to filling out the application. Like, let's just say a client has submitted an app to you. There's some things that need to be filled out just to like clean it up. But I highly recommend don't go through everything and having every single field filled out until it's live. And as an example, like when you go to in employment history information, it's not going to have like the industry or whether it's what is it, industry and a couple other fields that aren't filled out by the client. Don't bother with it. Just wait until it's live for you to fill it in because you're just wasting your time if it doesn't go live.
Hey, hey Tom. To that point, the one thing I do that saves me a lot of time is I only do the income. Like I do the when I'm underwriting it, I'll do the blurb. There's two borrowers. I write up their income, and then I save it on a separate file, like in their folder. And then as soon as it goes live, I just pull it up, cut and paste it in. Like I complete it, cut and paste it in. I can submit it really quickly.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're gonna have your own flow and tweaks and this would like all the stuff we talked about here today, like we didn't learn this from anyone else. It's just something your brain kind of figures out as you go and have more files on your plate. And looks like you're already doing that with the files coming in. So